Hey everyone, and welcome to another light novel review. For those unfamiliar with my review structure, basically I go through a general summary of the plot, writing and illustrations, and then share my thoughts on the total package and wrap it all up in a neat little bow at the end of the video. Today's review will be a little bit different, as it'll take me forever to move through some of these volume by volume. So instead I thought I'd tackle a series in its entirety, as unfortunately in this case the series appears to be dead in the water with no new volumes in sight as of writing this review. Rokka Braves of the Six Flowers is at its core a mystery novel series with a sprinkling of action and some thriller for good measure. Basically, every few hundred years the Demon Lord resurrects and causes chaos as they try and take over the world with their fiendish offspring. The key part of this cycle is the resurrection itself, as every cycle 6 heroes are chosen by fate and kill the Demon King, or in this case the Demon God. These heroes are called Braves, and each one has an unfakeable flower petal insignia indicating their status. The insignia also allows the Braves to travel to the land of the fiends, as that part of the world is normally poisonous to humans. So pretty standard story so far. The hook comes later. The novels take place in the third cycle, as 6 more heroes are chosen and get ready to fulfill their destiny. However, this time 7 Braves arrive at the agreed upon meeting point, and thus begins a complex tale of trying to weed out the fake 7th among the heroes. It all starts off really well, and the entirety of the anime is just the first book in the 6-book series. Initially it checked all the right boxes. It had strong and multi-layered characters, a unique hook and setting, and a fairly decently defined endgame, which is something I like to see in ongoing series, as without a clear goal you might find the series try and buy time for itself, or randomly pull out new story elements to artificially lengthen the tale. Unfortunately, Rokka has a very serious problem right at its core, and that's repetition. Every book is roughly the same thing. The Braves arrive at a location, something goes wrong, and they are forced to stay put until they can figure out the current puzzle they find themselves in, or find the 7th, or both. Rinse and repeat while inching the story forward ever so slightly. It's annoying, as there's so much more that could be done besides endless locked room mysteries. Look, don't get me wrong, I love locked room mysteries, but when your entire series relies so heavily on this one concept, it can get very tiring very quickly. It ends up becoming less about the journey and fight to end the demon god, and more about infighting and character backstories that inform the current volume. There's nothing wrong with character flashbacks, it's just delivered in a wrong place, wrong time kind of way. Like it halts everything else and makes it so the reader won't figure out the mystery until the characters do. Which isn't inherently bad until the characters dance around the answer for half a novel, leaving out key points that don't come to light until the final hour. It's annoying that it started off so good, but repetition killed it, even if it is still well written and structured on an individual scale. The writing style is very engaging, with each novel written from a third-person perspective that swaps character from time to time depending on what's going on. For example, when the story focuses on the 7th, it'll almost be like an internal monologue, but it's more from an outside perspective, showing what they're thinking about. It's very interesting because even though it isn't first-person writing, it still skillfully avoids giving away who the 7th is, then switches back to the main cast while they discuss the current situation. More often than not, the tale is told from the perspective of Adlet Maya, a regular-ish guy who has trained his body and mind in the art of fiend slaying. He's the self-proclaimed strongest man in the world, but he's really just a very clever strategist and adaptive in a pinch. He also acts as the core protagonist, as the start of the whole journey is shown from his perspective, so the reader can assume some safety in knowing his status as a brave while everyone else points fingers at each other. It also makes it especially stressful when those fingers fall on Adlet himself, and you panic along with him as he tries to prove his innocence and get to the bottom of every mystery. It's a solid premise and a pretty engaging narrative. It's just a repetitive journey that feels like it's slogging through mud rather than marching towards the finale. It makes it more difficult that the novels are pretty much on hiatus at this point, as it has been a number of years since the last book. One of the big mysteries and larger plot points is resolved though, so you can expect a little closure, just know that the tale is not done yet. The art is hard to describe. If I didn't already know what the series was thanks to the anime, I would be hard-pressed to have a solid image of what certain characters look like in my mind. It's a very unique art style that reminds me quite a lot of the original Final Fantasy artist, with vivid colours, unique proportions, and an almost sketch art style. Rokka moves from wild designs to solid to wild again. Many of the images are used to indicate who the current chapter will focus on, and few of them are used to illustrate an action scene, as is fairly common in light novels. It's a breath of fresh air at times, and feels more like a regular old fantasy novel rather than a light novel. It's unique, and each volume has a fresh look that grabs your attention and holds it as you try and decipher what it is you're seeing. Like I said, it is a unique tale, and an engaging story, but repetition really is its worst enemy. While you may not be able to predict what the mystery or the revelation will be, you can definitely predict the narrative to flow from introduction, complication, and resolution in almost the exact same way every time. Again, nothing strictly wrong with that, as the hero's journey is one of the most tried and tested formulas in narrative form. But it's the repetition of this formula that harms Rokka the most. Like I said before, it's still good on an individual level, and it's probably worth checking out the first volume. It's just a bit of a disappointment as each volume goes on. Anyway, that's all for my review. I hope you enjoyed that video. Please don't forget to like and subscribe, and please let me know what other light novels you would like me to cover in a future video. Until next time, bye!